All right, guys, this is Corey back with another video. I am very happy right now. I am very excited to say that if I remember correctly, I probably mentioned my next costume adventure. I have decided to make myself a Green Lantern costume this year for Comic-Con. And I got the inspiration between two different characters. Maybe one or two different designs or armor pieces, I guess I would say, or just overall attire pieces from one character named Kyle Rayner. I'm sorry about that. I love his mask. You know, like his. It looks like it's a two-piece mask. That's just like one piece. It has the I guess the lower shroud that comes like under the eyes and then just like down the cheeks, and then it has the upper shroud that's over the eyes and like over the forehead. I really like the way that looks. It's kind of reminiscent of Nightwing's mask a little bit, mixed with Batman's cowl. I don't know. All I know is it looks really dope. And most of this particular costume design is, I would say, is more focused on the second character, which is Jessica Cruz. I really like how her costume looks. It's, you know, just about all Green Lantern costumes are green, black, and white. Hers is no exception. She has the white gloves, I believe white boots. I'm not entirely too sure about that. I have a picture, I just don't remember off the top of my head. But I like how her arms go from the white gloves, goes like probably about maybe up to here, into the black arms, and then she has separate shoulder pieces that are green. I really like that separation, so I kind of did something like that myself. I have been practicing, or not really practicing, but just like trying out different techniques on trying to make the emblem. So right here I have this emblem. I really, like, after I did it, I pretty much fell in love with it. And I wanted to use this one, but then I thought, I was like, wait a minute. Do all the Green Lantern outfits or just all the Green Lantern suits have the white background like behind the emblem? Because I think it's John Stewart in Injustice 2, the particular outfit that he has, or one of, I guess it's like a DLC outfit, I'm not entirely too sure, but one of his outfits, he has just the emblem, and then like his whole suit is green, but like you can see the separation of the emblem's green, I guess like a little black border around the emblem, and then his suit. But going off, I guess, like comic iterations and cartoon iterations or movie iterations, or however you want to put it, all their suits are black, green, and white. White being directly behind the emblem. So what I did, I pretty much scaled it down considerably. And I know I'm talking about Green Lantern and I'm wearing a Flash shirt. Just pay this no mind. So yes, I scaled down the emblem to a reasonable size along with the white background. And I was pretty much happy with what I got. So in doing that, after making both the circle background and the new emblem, I took some contact cement and I painted the face of the emblem, and then I took some green 4-way stretch fabric. I put a layer of contact cement on that, not enough that it seeps through, because I wanted to make sure that what I was doing was going to work. So I tried doing that, what I just mentioned. I tried doing this method with another piece of 4-way stretch fabric that's green, and I noticed that putting too much in like certain spots, it would start to not really bleed through, but kind of soak through, and when it dries, it looks horrendous. So I found a way to apply some contact cement onto the fabric, but enough that it'll still work and not like soak through. So I was real happy with that. Right now I'm gonna go off camera for a second so I can grab the two pieces so you guys can see. One moment. So this is it. This is, I don't know the exact dimensions. I don't know how big or how wide it is, but I pretty much scaled this to this. And it's a really good size. This is a really good size. So not only did I do this, I also did the background. Look at that. That is just beautiful. That is beautiful. You know, and like, again, I have minimal experience, seeing as I made my very first costume last year, and I decided to use something that's just like completely out of my skill range, and I did fairly decent. You know, I did fairly decent. But this, it took me days. It took me days just to figure this out. And I was starting to get frustrated. I had other pieces. I had this idea where like I would sew the circle on, or sew the fabric onto the circle, because I saw this one video. I can't remember her channel, but she's actually the one that gave me the idea of sewing fabric onto craft foam. I do remember the build. She was making like classic Starfire. She was making a classic Starfire costume, and the whole neck piece that she was using, or that she was making, she was using craft foam and fabric, and she was sewing on the fabric. So I wanted to try that, and when I did, it was not working. So lay a thin layer of contact cement for the circle. Actually, I only put a thin layer of contact cement on the craft foam itself, and then I laid the fabric on and I pushed it down so that it wouldn't move, because even if I put a really thin layer, of craft foam onto the fabric, this is white fabric, and contact cement is like a really nasty yellowish kind of color. So it doesn't matter how thin of a layer, it still seeps through, and that's very noticeable. Like, if you guys can see this, like this dingy color right here, I guess, like that yellowy color, that's contact cement. So what I did was I only put the contact cement on the craft foam, and then I laid the fabric on top of that, and then as a circle, or like on the border of the foam, I took the contact cement and I was kind of applying contact cement to both the fabric and the foam at the same time on the edges. That way I can just fold it over. Like, once everything was dry, I could just fold it over and it would catch on. And then I took a pair of cheap surgical scissors. I took these, and then I just, like, real closely at the edge was just cutting away. And that's how I got that really clean cut look to it. So it's just, again, minimal experience, and I'm just like thinking of all of this stuff off the top of my head. What's gonna work? What wouldn't work? Let me try it with scrap pieces. I have a bag, just like a regular plastic bag full of just craft foam scraps. I have another bag over here to my right, just filled with scrap fabric. So I'm like, you know what? Let me try different methods. Let me see what works. Let me see what doesn't work. And that's pretty much what I did with this too. Like, it looks so clean, but I applied the same method as I did for the circle. But with the green fabric, seeing as it's darker than the white, I was able to put some contact cement onto the fabric itself. Not a lot, but enough that it adhered and it stuck. and the corners were a little tricky. It was just a little tricky, but I worked through that. I figured it out, and I am very happy with how this turned out. So again, here's the chest piece. So it just goes, it'll go right there. Look, that's a perfect size. It is a perfect size. Now, with the costume, oh, another note. Again, referring back to Jessica Cruz's suit, her shoulder pieces, I applied the same method. On my previous cosplay with my Star Wars costume, the knee pieces, the way that I did that, I had 2 pieces of foam, like encased in Worbla, and I had those 2 pushed together. So I basically used the same pattern for the knee parts, for the knee coverings that I did for my Star Wars costume as for my shoulder pieces. But what I did with that, I basically made 8 pieces. So I had 2 for the left, 2 for the right side, 2 for the left side, and then I glued those 2 pieces together to make 1 piece, and then I glued all of that together. And then I applied the same method as the emblem in the background. Thin layer of contact cement on the fabric, some contact cement on the craft foam, and put it all together. So it's like, the only thing I'm not really happy about with these, so I got 2. The only thing I'm not really happy with is that it's a little bubbly in some places. I'm a noob. Okay, I am a noob at this. So it's like, I'm pretty sure people that have years of experience, just like amateur cosplay, they have techniques to get rid of these bubbles. Awesome. But the only thing that I don't even have a problem with the bubbles, really. I have a problem with the seams showing. So it's like at certain angles, you can just see that line going straight down the middle. So let's see right there. Got that right there, but it shows up more on this one. So I'm not too thrilled about that, but you know, I'm very happy with how these came out. Now, to the costume itself, I have been racking my brain, procrastinating. I will admit that I have been procrastinating out the wazoo. But that was mainly because I was trying to figure out how am I going to get this to work? Because for those comic book nerds out there that know how a Green Lantern's costume is, the green for the torso part does not go all the way down into the pelvic area. You know, it kind of cuts off like maybe either at the navel or just above that V line, and then it splits from there, green up and black down. So I was trying to figure out how could I do this and make it work. I don't want the green going like for the entire torso piece. I don't want the green for that. And I'm thinking, and then, you know, just like a little light bulb just went off in my head. I have a lot of packing paper from my old job that would come wrapped around the paper bags that I would basically take the packing paper because, you know, I'm like forever broke. For those that don't know, cosplay is an extremely expensive hobby. So it's like, I'm forever broke and I couldn't really afford just buying a whole roll of packing paper. So, you know, use what you got. I transferred what pattern on them from like the tissue paper. I transferred that onto the packing paper and then cut that out. Then I had this idea, let me use another piece of packing paper along with the torso template that I already have and just make a template for the Green Lantern outfit. Sorry if my phone is vibrating, guys. I'm starting to get some messages. Let me just turn this on to vibrate, onto silent, sorry. So, I took I took the template, the original template, retraced that on another piece of packing paper, and then I was looking at pictures of Jessica Cruz's costume, and I basically just like eyeballed where the green would end and the black begin, or vice versa. So, 5 hours later, where? So like I have this whole corner behind me. I have this whole corner behind me dedicated to just like laying my templates just in this one area. So I know where all of the templates that I'm using for like just the costume itself, I know where all those costume templates are. The parts for the arms, the legs, what have you. So with the chest piece, I basically did this. Okay. So with Jessica Cruz's outfit, you have her torso, just like the front, mainly the front part of her torso is the green up until like the lower or like the mid V section. And that's where it cuts off from green to black. But on the sides, there's black also. So what I did was, again, just eyeballing everything. I pretty much, well, I used, like special tools to make the circle and whatnot, but just for the sides over here, the side cutout and the bottom cutout over here, I should have, yes. So here you go, here it is. And it's always good to write out what part is what, no matter what template you have. If you have multiple templates for one side, always mark what the template is, because if you don't, more than likely you will forget what it's for. This is just to make sure that everything that you're doing and everything that you're making comes out perfect. Not that I'm saying my costume is going to come out perfect. I'm pretty sure there's going to be something wrong with it, but as close to perfect as possible. So I basically marked off, again, just eyeballing everything using a pencil, not a pen, not a marker. I marked off everything, cut everything up, and with my first costume, I had the whole torso piece, like the whole front torso, 2 different pieces. For this costume, I didn't want that. I didn't want that seam going down the middle. So I, transferring from template to fabric, just like how they would, like anyone else that has a tutorial on how to make costumes or what have you, it's like you trace the template on the fabric and then you flip it so you have the opposite side. That's what I did, but instead of doing one side and then moving the template over a little bit and then flipping it, I just moved, I basically flipped it right on the line. I flipped it right on the line, and then I just made the whole chest piece one piece. And so I'm using 2 different kinds of fabric. I'm using 4-way stretch fabric in green, and I'm using a special kind of fabric from Yaya Han's collection. The only thing I do not like about her fabrics is that they are stupid expensive. But if you go on Joann, you can find them on sale if you're lucky. If you sign up for Joann's fabrics, you can get deals, you can get discounts and such. So that's pretty much what I did. I signed up for email, I signed up for physical mail, and I signed up for text messages. So all that stuff, it all counts. So this is the fabric that I'm using from Yaya Han. This is the fabric that I decided to go with for the black. Now, if they had this, if she made this particular fabric in green, oh my gosh, that would have been so awesome. Like, have the whole entire outfit just be the same pattern, but in a Green Lantern outfit. That would be so dope. But unfortunately, she doesn't. So she only has black and white, and I didn't even have the hindsight to buy any white for the background. But again, that works. I'm happy with it. So like, as you guys can see, it has this honeycomb effect or a honeycomb pattern to it. It stretches pretty well one way, not so much. Well, it stretches well this way. It stretches really well going this way, and I don't really know what orientation this is, seeing as this particular piece is cut up like a lot, but it stretches. I would say this is like maybe 2.5 way stretch fabric, because it stretches really good one way and it stretches okay another. But for what I'm using it for, this should work. So with so going back to the torso part, I have the whole torso part, or the whole torso pretty much is done, and I have the 2 back pieces done and I have the whole front piece done. I just haven't connected the 2. What I did with my first costume, I pretty much cut all the pieces out of fabric, and then I sewed both sides, both complete sides. I sewed the whole front half together, and then I sewed the whole back half together. And then I pretty much just did a perimeter sewing. Because honestly, like, I still have the instructions for the templates, but my brain can't understand it. Like, I'm reading it, I'm trying to understand it, and I'm like, what? This makes absolutely no sense to me. So I pretty much had to go off the top of my head and try and figure this out, and what I did worked. So yeah, I'm pretty much gonna do the same thing with this costume. Just sew the whole front half together, then sew the whole back half together, and then just do a perimeter sew. With the neck piece for this costume, it's also gonna have some foam on the inside of the fabric. So I don't wanna glue the fabric to the foam. I really don't want to do that. So I'm pretty much gonna like try and sew a sleeve in the shape of the fabric, and then just like try and insert the fabric, and then leave enough room down at the bottom and on the sides in order to sew the collar onto the suit itself. So I have been practicing a lot with scrap fabric. One moment. And I'm back. So, yes, I have been practicing a lot, again, with a whole bunch of scrap fabric, trying to figure out how to get the proper, I guess, taper of my costume. So, in my head, I pretty much want the whole costume to be one big bodysuit, as opposed to, okay, I gotta put on the gloves. Okay, now I gotta put on the shoes. That's pretty much what I did with my first costume, and it worked, but it was a little annoying. Especially with like how wide the cuffs on my wrists were. So again, playing around, I have what I did, I took the original template for the arms, both the front and the back. I pretty much did this for both sides. I connected a template of my hand into the template for my arm, or for the arm, but it was much wider down at the bottom. So I pretty much like where the so yes, this is where the glove template ended, and this is where the template for the arm ended. And I pretty much just like cut off the excess and then just like tapered it down. And I tried making a sleeve out of that particular template's size, and that sleeve is this piece right here. But and this is 4-way stretch fabric. This is like really stretchy fabric. That popping that you're hearing is the seams popping. But again, this is a practice piece, so it's not really important, but it did help for me to learn. but like this stretches really well going both ways, really well. However, my arms are, you know, pretty beefy. So when it got down to maybe here, I would say like halfway down I guess this would be like the forearm section, it started to get really, really tight, and it started to get really hard for me to get my hand in here. So this is the wrong side. It's not as shiny, you know, and this is the right side. The right side is the more shinier part. So I'm like, okay, if it's this tight to get my hand in on the wrong side, it's gonna be way tighter trying to get my hand in when it's inside out. So I didn't even bother with that one anymore. So I kind of had this epiphany that one of my other many practice gloves that I have lying over here to the back, I wanted to see how the Yaya Han fabric would work. And so I took a couple of pieces, I traced a glove that I had made that fits really well. I turned it inside out and I basically traced the outline of the seams and then made a glove out of that. And whenever I make a glove for the first time, like the fingers are always like really big. Like I leave a lot of room. And I just fixed it up and it fit beautifully. I do have that too. That is also off camera. I'll be right back. Alrighty, it was off camera, but it wasn't that far that I couldn't just lean to grab it. But this is the glove. It's inside out. And let me just flip it over. So I was curious to see how this fabric would feel, because after I got it, it's been sitting in my room for a few months before I actually started doing anything with it, because I wasn't sure how it was gonna work, and I didn't want to take any chances and just like full on dive into the costume and, you know, like I'm making pieces and it's not really stretching properly and it's just failing. So I did what any aspiring cosplayer would do to make sure everything is right. Take a piece or take parts of the fabric you're gonna use and just make something out of it. So, I don't know. I guess I'm just talking about me and my personal experiences and what I personally do. So, I took 2 pieces and made a glove. And to me, it fits beautifully. And I have a practice Green Lantern ring. I put that on. I'm not gonna grab that. It's a little further than me just reaching over. But I put it on and it just looks so good. So good. But with the arm template, I pretty much went back and revamped it again. So now it's much wider down here at the base. And again, with practice pieces of fabric, I used this template, both front and back, to make a whole arm sleeve, glove included, and it works. It works. I was so happy. And then I pretty much did the same thing for the legs, you know, rinse and repeat. But I had this idea of making the legs and the booties, as I so call them, one piece. So I wanted it to look like it was all just one big leg piece, but I could not figure out a way to make the template for the leg look how it needed to look in order to incorporate the foot covering and it work properly. So I had to figure that out. And I guess I just decided on making the booties separate and then sewing that all together. So I did try that with, again, more scrap fabric, and it works. And so I used a compression sock that I used to use during my derby days. I used the width of the compression sock to basically like map out how wide the booty needed to be in order to fit properly. And you know, through trial and error, I got it to work, and this is the end result. This is what's going to be a part of my costume. So this is inside out at the moment, but I literally just made this about maybe 40 minutes ago. Let's see, I'm sorry for the length of this video, guys. But I felt the need to just like share my journey with this second costume, and it's just awesome. To me, it's just awesome. So this is the booty, and what I'm gonna do with this, I have a pair of old work shoes that I'm no longer using, and they're just taking up space in my room, so I'm just gonna toss them. But before I do, I'm taking out the inner soles that have like this little gel padding at the back of the heel. I'm gonna take those out, clean them up,